Hey there, my friends. Happy Tuesday. It's Jen Pittabach with By the Shore Stamping. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I have something a little bit different for you this time around. So I'm going to actually walk you through the wedding invitations and not thank you cards, wedding invitations, shower invitations, and the banner I made for my stepdaughter. This is something I love doing actually, and so I wanted to give you a few tips and tricks if you wanted to try this yourself. So I love coming up with a coordinated pack of products, I guess you'd say, or invitations and thank you cards and shower favors and things like that. I just think it's really fun. If you didn't know this already, a couple of years ago, I actually went to a bridal show and did a whole wedding ensemble for that, and it was a lot of fun. I ended up chickening out and not really wanting to do custom stuff for a bride because it was just too much pressure and I was afraid of bridezillas. So I ended up just kind of retreating from that idea, but I still love to do that. So I thought I would share with you a couple of tricks and tips in case you wanted to try doing that yourself. So I will say that having the catalog is a great thing. This is the Stampin' Up! Catalog, of course. If you know me, if you've been hanging out with me for a while, you know I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and so I generally use all Stampin' Up! Products, although I did use some contraband in the set I'm going to show you today, just because it was at the request of my stepdaughter. So, and we didn't have anything similar, so I had to get something somewhere else. But what I would say for if you're planning to do an event, I love starting with the catalog as your launching point. So as you know, there's always tons of beautiful samples in the catalog, and so what I like to do is if I'm doing something for an event, so say for instance, I was doing a beachy kind of theme for a wedding. This might be something I might take inspiration from. So depending on the vibe that I want for the invitation ensemble, I would go ahead and find some products or some samples in the catalog that kind of gave me the feeling that I want. So if I want summery, this one's kind of a little bit masculine, which is fine if that's the look you're going for. If you wanted something more feminine vibe, you might look more towards, let me see if I can find the other one really quick. Where is that one? Trying to find, actually, you know what, I can go to the front. If you want something a little more feminine, it's $98.99. Let's go. Oh, it was really close. I went too far. That's for the page behind. So this one's a little bit more, got some pinks and blues, so it's a little bit softer, a little bit more feminine look. This is more realistic to ocean and water, I feel like, with the reds and the blues and the greens. So depending on the vibe you want, you would kind of find a project in here that kind of gives you this color theme. So I think a really fun color theme for a beach themed wedding ensemble could be like this blue, which is balmy blue, some sweet sorbet, basic black, and maybe gray. I like that color combination, is really pretty. You could throw in the green if you wanted, but I kind of like that soft, subtle look, and that would give you kind of a realistic oceany vibe to it. You could also go really whimsical and do something more pinks and golds and blues and things like that too. So that would be my first tip, is to go ahead and find a project that you like the color theme on. And you know what, it doesn't even have to be something that's like oceany. So say I'm doing an ocean themed wedding invitation, but I love these colors, right? So you could totally do that, right? You could totally pick from there. And of course, if you're doing it for someone else, they may already have their color theme that they want already picked out. So then of course you would just go with what they wanted. But I like to kind of start with my color theme first, and then I go ahead and pick the products that I want to use. And I do try to stick to one set for the most part, except for little bits where I have to kind of add in something that may not be in the set that I'm using. I'm trying to find the one we used for these invitations, which I'm going to show you in about 2 seconds. Let me just find here it is. So we used the Let's Celebrate Sunflowers for her bundle, and of course there isn't really a lot on this page for inspiration, but there are a few. We actually didn't use any of this. So Kenzie's wedding, which is my stepdaughter, she is doing a rustic wedding. It's at a campground up in Hanson, Mass, and so it's very you know, we got the log cabin look, you know, it's on the water, but she didn't really want to do beachy or oceany at all. But it was like in a little, not really a gazebo, but it's kind of like a big, I don't know what you would call it, like kind of a picnic area, but it's open air kind of thing. So very rustic was kind of where we were going. So let me show you the original. This is the invitation, and actually this is the prototype, so you're going to see the mock-up a little bit. So this isn't the finished version, but pretty close. So you can see we used Early Espresso, Pacific Point, Balmy Blue, and Crumb Cake, or kind of the base colors. I did add in some yellow for the sunflowers into future stuff, but that was not part of the original color scheme, but it still worked because sunflowers are kind of yellow, right? So this part here was not part of the original invitation, but this was just a prototype. We were originally going to kind of have the ribbon go right around this envelope, but we ended up deciding to do a belly band instead. And so this was the inside. And I actually I don't have the finished one. We had some RSVP cards and stuff in here as well, which I don't think I have a finished version. Well, I do. It's at home, actually, now that I think about it. We have the one that we were given. But I stamped this part, and I had this printed, and then we just inked the edges and used some of the, this was the paper that was in our old catalog. It was the In Good Taste paper, so we used that as the background. And, of course, the cowboy stamp was not a Stampin' Up! Stamp, but I found that at one of the local craft stores because she's doing cowboy boots and in her dresses, and all the bridesmaids are wearing cowboy boots. We actually have cowboy boots. Of course, Nate has cowboy boots and his cowboy hat. So it's definitely a rustic kind of country theme. So that is where the invitation started. And then for the, and I should have started with this one actually. This was the Save the Date originally. So we used the pearlized paper. We did kind of mix and match the white and the vanilla, which I think is totally fine. I think it looks kind of fun. And plus there's kind of white in her outfit as well. So there's actually snow on the bottom here, so it kind of works. But again, we used the Pacific Point Crumb Cake, and then that pearlized paper, and the Pacific Blue, which is kind of was originally going to be the bridesmaids' dresses, but they ended up being more of a dusty blue, but we kept that darker blue. And in the back, we just kind of did the little save the date for the location and the date, and their initials cut out of cardstock and taped to the little tree ring, which I stamped. So there's that. And these were all kind of designed by Kenzie. Those two were designed by Kenzie and like kind of implemented by me. So she kind of gave me what she wanted, and then I implemented. This was her shower invitation. I kept this really super simple because we were really late in sending it out. So this one's really, really simple. I just embossed the background with the wood plank embossing folder, which I don't think is current anymore, but I have it because it's one that comes in really handy. And then we used vanilla, very vanilla, and I just stamped the sunflowers and crumb cake with a Join Us to Celebrate, which I pieced together with a couple of other stamp sets I have. I tend to keep my wedding stamp sets just as a backlog because I do a lot of wedding stuff for my friends and family. So I kept those on hand. So I used that. And then we just printed this on vanilla paper, like not pattern paper, printer paper. I stamped the little doodad, which we copied from this one. So that's another good tip for you. Just reintroduce the items that you're using over and over again. So like we used that, like I said, we used it here on her original invitation, and then I just kind of copied it in here. So you're carrying that icon and those pieces through all of the elements of your ensemble of product. So that's what that was. So there was the invitation, and then that was really super simple invitation that we put together. And then lastly, I did do the shower favors. I did the shower invitation on my own. I also did the I made this banner for her, which I'll show you. I'm not sure I'll be able to see all of it on one screen, but I'll show this to you. And I made the shower favors, which were little mason jars filled with Hershey Kisses, and it said hugs and kiss, or it said kisses from the future misses, and then it had this little sunflower on top of the mason jar. I don't have one here in my office, unfortunately, so I couldn't show you that today, but maybe I'll post a picture of some of this stuff after the fact. But here is the little banner I made. So it says Mr. And, well, it has the little spacer, and then we have and. I gotta kind of fix this a little bit. It was falling apart. It was a little uneven here, so see how that's coming out. I just need to fix that. That's why it's in my office, so I had that in here. So that just needs to be tacked down again. Mr. and Mrs. So it's just a cute little banner that I put together to hang at her shower. And then of course she can use this. I'm going to fix it and give it back to her so she can hang it at her house, or she can hang it at the wedding if she wants, on the table for her and her husband to be. And then they can reuse that, maybe hang it on there until they have a fireplace. So if they wanted to put pictures up on their anniversary and use this every year, they could do that. Somebody made a just Maui'd one for Nate and I. Oh my goodness. And so we use it all the time. So I love having that. It's actually on my wall right here. And that one is really fun to have. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. Hopefully that gave you some inspiration. I'm thinking about in the future maybe doing some tutorials, like DIY tutorials for different themes, like themed birthdays or wedding invitations, things like that. So if that's something that would appeal to you, I would love to know, and let me know what kinds of themes would you want. Would you want wedding invitations? Would you want, baby shower stuff? Would you want maybe like a Cinco de Mayo birthday theme where we could do party favors and invitations and all that kind of stuff? I just thought that would be really kind of fun and a great way for me to be able to still do this stuff, which I love to do, but not have to have the pressure of producing 50 to 100 to 120 or more of one invitation, because that's not really my favorite thing to do. So I just thought it might be a fun thing to add to my website if any of you are interested. And I just wanted to give you a few tips if you're trying to do this on your own and plan them from scratch. So you want to make sure you pick your color theme, kind of stick to 1 or 2 stamps other than the greetings. Like I might work in some different, like the "You're Invited" and "Join Us to Celebrate" were not part of that original stamp set I selected. So I pulled those in from elsewhere, but you'll see that I reused the sunflower element and the, rustic stuff, that the boots and things like that got reused over and over again. So we want to reuse those elements. You want to use the same color theme. You want to kind of give some thought to the color theme that you pick. You want it to have the vibe you want. So if you're doing something that's kind of nostalgic and not fun and cheery, like, so if you were doing some sort of like funeral kind of banner that you wanted to do a memorial kind of thing, you'd want to use softer colors, whereas if you're doing a big fun summer party, you'd want to use bright fun colors. So you want to tie your colors to the vibe you want to have for your party. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind. And then just reusing the same elements to kind of keep that consistency throughout your event. So there's some tips for you if you want to kind of design your own wedding ensemble or party ensemble. It's really, really fun. It does take some time, but when you're just doing one of everything, you can kind of go a little over the top, like, doing all the fancy, like, die cutting and the fussy cutting and things like that you might not do if you had to mass produce. So just some things to keep in mind too, like, so when you're doing the invitation parts, you might not want to do like all these detailed die stuff. You want to do stuff that's really easy, maybe not even die cutting. Like we did die cut this sunflower, but I had help. I had all the bridal party there helping me, so that went a lot faster. So like with this one, I kept it super simple because I knew I had to make all of them myself, so it was really fast. There was no die cutting. The hardest part was actually doing this sentiment, because it was 2 different stamps that I kind of combined together. Otherwise, everything else was really, really easy. So keep that in mind too. If you're mass producing for yourself and you need to make 40, 50, 80, 100, 200 of something, try and make sure you're not die cutting a lot. Use punches instead. Keep it to one or 2 colors. Just keep everything kind of basic. You may not even want to do an embossing. Maybe you would do a small print paper in the background instead, so that you could kind of do it fast and easy. So just keep all those things in mind, but it's really fun to kind of put those together and play a little bit with your design and your color palettes and things. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, pop them below, and hopefully I will see you again next week. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great week. Bye for now.